Hello, lab rats. Welcome to our second lab of the Introduction to Biology lab. Today we're going to be dissecting a flower. Actually, two kinds of flowers, and it's going to be so much fun. This is one of my favorite labs just because I love to learn about botany. Plants are really fun to learn about. So on the screen here, we have a PowerPoint lesson that we're going to follow along. And so first thing we need to know about is why does a plant even need a flower? They put a lot of work into making these beautiful flowers, and there has to be a reason for that. So I want you to think for a moment, why do you think a flower is made by a plant? They're so beautiful. Can you think of a reason? Well, I'm going to have to give you the answer. So the reason that a plant has a flower is for reproduction. Because if a plant cannot make babies and have new baby plants, they're all going to die off on the planet. So it's important to have a way to be able to reproduce. And the flowers are the way that they reproduce. Now you think about this, a plant cannot really pick up its roots and go find a mate to be able to reproduce with, which makes it kind of difficult to be able to make babies. So you have to think about, how does a flower actually get its DNA in those little cells to be able to go to another plant? Can you think about that? I'm sure you know a little bit about what likes to go to flowers and pick up those little yellow things on it and go to another plant. I'm sure you're saying it right now. What are they called? Starts with a P. That's right, it's pollinators. There are pollinators that are responsible for helping the flowers reproduce so that the plants can be able to make babies. So on the screen here, you can see that a pollinator could be a bee, and the bee is hanging out in the flower a little bit. It's getting some of that yellow stuff on there, and we're going to talk about what that yellow stuff is that's sticking to the bee. Can anybody guess what that yellow stuff is that's sticking to that bee there that's on the flower? It's called pollen. That pollen is very, very important. It's half of the information necessary to be able to make a seed. That's right. That one tiny little piece of pollen has half the information to be able to make a seed. So that means that one little piece of pollen has to go to another plant and find the egg in the other plant. I know that's kind of crazy. Plants have eggs, kind of crazy. They're called ovules, but we'll talk about that later. The egg in the other plant has half the information. The pollen has the other half. Together, it makes a whole, and that is how the plants reproduce. They make a seed to make a new plant. Pretty cool, huh? So we're going to watch a quick video here about a pollinator that is going to come and hang out in a plant. As you can see, that bee is sticking its proboscis into the tiny little flower parts to be able to suck out something. I'm sure you know what it is. It starts with an N. If you don't, I'm going to tell you. It's trying to look for the nectar. That is the sweet, sugary fluid inside of your flower that a bee wants to be able to drink up. It fuels its body, gives its energy, so it can take it home to make new babies itself. You can see on this bee right here that it also has pollen on it. Probably not from this plant, maybe a different flower, but hopefully it'll get some pollen from this plant onto it and go to another similar plant to be able to make baby plants. Pretty fascinating.